Tell the channel, let's return to the Kyle Peterson top 5, and today we got a fun one as I'm counting down the top 5 toy lines I wish existed.
And the spirit of Ultimate Warrior will run forever!
Welcome everyone, Kyle here, and welcome back to the channel for another edition of the Kyle Peterson Top 5. A Thursday tradition on the channel is every single Thursday we got a top 5 and occasionally a top 10 countdown. And today's video is an interesting one. Hopefully you join in the comments down below. But today I'm going to try to wheel into the universe the top 5 toy lines I would like to see from different companies, and I'll even list the company I want to make this toy line. Now, these are some deep cuts and some heavy hitters, at least in my world, they're heavy hitters, maybe not yours. But these are toy lines that have never happened that need to happen. Now, this is going to be a fun one here as this goes over all kinds of properties, cartoons, live action, you name it, horror, all kinds of points here. And we're going to start, of course, like usual, start at number 5, work our way to number 1. Number 1 being my most wanted toy line, or at least action figure from the property. Of course, as usual, this is my list. Put your list in the comments down below. And this could be anything. Now, gotta say, does this have a toy line or hasn't had a toy line in a long time? Perfect example of something that would be on this list for me would be Cops and Crooks. Now, Big Bad Toy Store, Big Bad Workshop, whatever it's called at this point, they are making Cops and Crooks figures now, so this is off the list. We had figures once upon a time, but went decades without figures, so that can't be on the list here. And so if you could think of a property maybe from the 80s you loved or something that you want to see reformulated, remade, that could be on this list. Or it could be straight up something that's never had a property ever, and you can have that on your list as well. But without further ado, let's kick off the countdown. Number 5. We kick off the countdown here at number 5, and what can I say besides Heathcliff, no one should terrify their neighborhood. We're going to Heathcliff the cat. Always lost a little luster to that no good Garfield, but if you ask me, I always preferred Heathcliff, and heck, I love that Junkyard Gang too. I'd take figures from them in the Total Wave, Total Series, but Heathcliff's had some things over the years, not a ton of merchandise in all honesty. Like I said, Garfield was kind of the cat of the 80s, but Heathcliff was kind of the cooler other cat, a little bit more dangerous cat, at least in my eyes. And I always loved watching on Nickelodeon is where I watched Heathcliff as a little kid. But I loved Heathcliff. I loved his shenanigans. I always loved the fish too, like the bony fish in there. For something like that, the artwork on that. And I remember as a kid going to like the lake with my grandpa. I only fished like 3 times in my entire life. I'm just not a fisherman, of course. But I remember seeing like dead fish and stuff that, you know, like the waves rolled up and then the fish got left and they died. And I remember seeing a fish skeleton. I'm like, that looks nothing like what Heathcliff in the cartoon was like. They look different in there. So always point that out as well when I think of Heathcliff. But I would love to see Boss Fight Studios. This seems like something Boss Fight would do. They've done Fraggle Rock. They've done other properties kind of in this vein. I'm not sure if the NECAs of the world would dive into a Heathcliff, but it feels like it would be a perfect fit for Boss Fight. And I think I would be fine with just one Heathcliff figure, just representation of Heathcliff. Maybe even mix him in like my Turtles or something. That would be kind of fun to do. Just like Garfello, once upon a time, fairly recently, honestly. But like I said, the Junkyard Gang, I could take that gang too. I could have them in the background there. They didn't cross over a ton as we saw in those episodes back when, but always enjoyed my time as a kid watching Heathcliff, especially in the summertime. So I would love representation of that in my collection. Boss Fight Studios, let's make it happen. We're going to put that at number 5. We've hit the number 4 selection in the countdown, and we're keeping it animated. We're keeping it back to 80s cartoons. And I remember seeing this one on like ABC Saturday mornings, and maybe it went to Disney Channel, I think, as I got a little bit older. But I always enjoyed this cartoon a lot, and I'd never heard a lot of talk on the old playground. Obviously, the playground was the litmus test, what was popular. There was never a lot of talk on the playground, but I kept it near and dear to my heart. I always enjoyed episodes. What are we talking about? Well, we're going to the cartoon series, The Littles. Now, I've loved little people since I was a little kid, Todd McFarlane, and it was basically these mice-like people that lived in the walls. Henry J, I think was the big kid's name. he was like the kid, he knew the little secret, didn't want to rat them out and stuff. And you'd have, Grandpa Little there and all the different little families. And there was all kinds of madcap adventures trying to escape from cats and doing stuff. You know how it is. Rinse and repeat. These shows were all the same in a lot of ways. But the Littles stole my heart and never let go, and I'm still to this day dreaming of little people living in my walls. It would be a great thing, and I would team up. I'd help them. I'd put them to work down here is honestly what I would do. But always loved it. Grandpa Little was always just the curmudgeon. It was just a great time. So if you've never seen the Littles, you got to check that one out. Always enjoyed it. I don't think they had really any merchandise as far as action figures or anything. So I would love to see that happen again in the future. And once again, we're going to go boss fight. I guess seeing a theme here. It doesn't feel big enough for NECA, but boss fight could maybe make something like this happen. We'll see. I'd love a big pack of all the Littles together, maybe. Who knows? But the Littles, if you've never seen it, check it out. The theme song, it's a banger. I play it in my car all the time as I'm driving to work. Maybe not, but pretend I do. But the Littles come in number 4. All right, we've hit the number 3 selection. Number 3 could be the deepest cut of the selection. And yes, you're exactly right. Todd McFarlane from the couch with the wise wisdom. Sheryl Crow did tell us the first cut is the deepest, but this one is a very deep cut. And this is one of my first ever Nickelodeon memories as a little kid. Obviously, as a little kid, you only had so many channels. I was lucky to have cable, but you still only had so many channels. So as a little kid, you were pretty much stuck on Nickelodeon a lot throughout the day. And this is an interesting one because I absolutely loved it. But then as you got older, you kind of forget stuff. There was no internet. I do predate the internet. And I always wondered, what was this show? Nobody else seemingly ever watched it. It was like I was speaking a foreign language, as I do many a times. And nobody knew. So until the internet came and I searched, I finally found out what this was. And it was a French animated series. So maybe you Francians, I don't know, Frenchies? Maybe you know this one. Maybe it was popular there. I think it was made in Japan too. A little Power Ranger connection on this one. Where are we going? And most of you guys are never going to hear this. It is the Mysterious Cities of Gold, following little Esteban Tau Zia Mendoza, an all-timer of a leader, a true leader like a young Flint. You thought he was bad, but he's also good. A crazy series. I got the whole DVD when my daughter was little. We went through the whole thing. We watched every single episode, multiple seasons, watched it all, and then she didn't want to watch the last episode. She never watched the last episode. It was a wild power move. I've never seen anything like it. But the Mysterious Cities of Gold was on Nickelodeon as a little kid, and I loved it. And it was like a continuing journey. The thing that I loved about that cartoon and still love about that cartoon is it follows a story throughout. Now, there'd be side things in each episode, but it followed a story. There was a pattern, a linear pattern that you could follow along, kind of like a soap opera or something. It wasn't like G.I. Joe where you knew the players and it'd be different stories, one-off stories, maybe sometimes a 2-part story. This continued on as they sailed across the ocean and they tried to find the Mysterious Cities of Gold and Esteban's father. It's an all-timer. It's a tearjerker. It's got the highs and lows. It's got the comedy. It's got everything you need in a little kid's cartoon, let me tell you. But many years later, like 10 years ago, whatever it is, they made more seasons of this. And they made, I think, a 3rd season, which is not in English translation, at least that I know of. And I would love to get an English translation of that 3rd season to watch it. But I absolutely loved it. And I'm saying it right now, that possibly could have my favorite cartoon theme song of all time. That covers a lot of ground, but that Mysterious Cities of Gold song is a banger. And I might even like the updated version for the new series even more. Check that out on YouTube. It's an all-timer of a cartoon. I absolutely do love that one. Would love to see some kind of representation from toys of that. I think it would be very fun to get the main characters. There's a lot of meat on the bone there, but unfortunately, sales would be, atrocious on this. I don't think most people have ever even heard of this. I'm sure you're watching this saying, I've never even heard of this Mysterious Cities of Gold. So I don't think this one's ever going to happen, but man, I would love to have that in my collection. I just never could get that out of my head. I'm like, what is this series? What is this series? Nobody knew what it was. And then until like 95, when I first got the internet or whatever, I was like, now I'm going to find this out. And I don't think it was as easy as I thought back then. Not as much stuff on the internet, but I found it out in the Mysterious Cities of Gold. Absolutely amazing. Coming in, number 3. Getting closer and closer to the top spot, we're at the number 2 selection. And number 2's had a few figures over the years, obviously more in the heyday of the show, but it's time to get some, and I'd like to see NECA try this. Now, I feel like if NECA made these figures from this series, that it would be more of those cloth kind of NECA figures we've seen. They make a lot of different ones. They're in like cloth stuff. I feel like that's what they would do instead of the Ultimates. I don't know if you guys chime in the comments, but what are we talking about? Number 2, it is one Saved by the Bell. But in a plot twist, Saved by the Bell, the new class. Yes, Saved by the Bell, the new class. Screech came in for season 2, stole our hearts all over again, and went on. And Saved by the Bell new class has more episodes than the original Saved by the Bell. Did you know that fact? Maybe not. Well, it does, but I hated Saved by the Bell, the new class as a kid. I dabbled, maybe 5 episodes, something like that. But neither here nor there. Saved by the Bell, the original series. Heck, give me the college years. Give me Golic. I want everybody. I would love to see that from NECA. I don't think it's ever going to happen. And like I said, if it does, it would be the more cloth variety or maybe like a Toonie Terror style kind of. They've done kind of offshoots from that line. But man, oh man, Saved by the Bell was everything when I was in elementary school. It was just a fun thing. It was a break from some of the animation. It still was kind of kid-like. Obviously, it was a kid series. And then you got to learn about real relationships. You know, you're in 5th grade and you're seeing Zach and Kelly break up. You're like, this is like me and Dawn breaking up in 5th grade. That's exactly what it is. Oh, Dawn and I, we just can't see it through. And there's this no good Jeff who just recently died. Guess he got his comeuppance after all these years. Who knows? Oh, never speak ill of the dead. But love Saved by the Bell. It was a daily after-school tradition, and I used to watch the reruns. I think it was TBS back then. It was where the reruns were when I was a kid, and probably still now. But I remember being absolutely shocked one day. I'm flipping through, and I see news episodes of Saved by the Bell on NBC on Saturday morning because I was so used to just watching the reruns all the time. I didn't realize it was still going on. I guess I didn't realize anything when I was a little kid, so I was shocked to say, oh my gosh, they have new episodes. But it was a wild ride for Saved by the Bell. It had the ups and downs, of course. You go back to the Miss Bliss years. Those are pretty rough to watch. The Tori years, a little rough to watch as well. But man, Saved by the Bell was an all-timer. And if you were my age bracket, you probably enjoyed some Saved by the Bell. And then once again, in a second plot twist, I never watched the reboot series. I think I watched episode 1, but I kind of said I want to leave the memories alone. That being said, I'm not against watching it. We got to see what Kelly's up to, what old Jesse Spano's doing. Everything all points in between there. So Saved by the Bell coming in extra hot, number 2. Make it happen, NECA. We'll see where that goes. But that means there can only be one. What is my most wanted toy line? Can this happen? Can we will this into existence? Well, stay tuned. All right, we've hit the number 1 selection, my number 1 most wanted toy line. Do you got your list together? Well, put it in the comments down below. I'd be very interested to hear your list and your reasoning behind it. So stick it down there and make sure you subscribe to the channel while you're at it. Got a lot of videos, got a lot of content for you. Support the channel, all that kind of fun stuff. But here we are at number 1, and I've been beating the drum for this one since I basically began this YouTube channel. One of the most triumphant things of little Kyle's TV watching was when Fox first debuted Once Upon a Time. I don't even know if I was in elementary. I might have been in kindergarten when Fox debuted, possibly. A long, long time ago, of course. But I was a very werewolf-obsessed kid, and that started with my dad at probably 4 or 5 years old showing me the Universal Monster Lon Chaney Jr. one. Perfect for a 4 or 5-year-old, still to this day, if you ask me. It's not scary, but it's cool. You're trying to wrap your head around a guy turned into a werewolf. It's a great, great thing. And then shortly after that, we saw the old Werewolf from London. We'll never forget about that one, that transformation scene. Seeing that at like a little kid age, you're like, holy cow, I can't believe what I'm seeing right here. Very creepy, very cool still to this day as well. But the one werewolf version that has stole my heart and is still possibly my favorite, it is the TV series from Fox called Werewolf. Just straight up Werewolf. It is basically, the Incredible Hulk show back in the day. Hulk would go town to town and he'd have the sad walk off at the end. That's kind of what Werewolf was. It was Incredible Hulk, but instead of turning into the Incredible Hulk, he turned into a werewolf. And he was trying to stop the curse, trying to find the first werewolf. If you kill that first werewolf, you can stop the curse. Man, oh man, I absolutely love that show. And about 5 years ago, they're all on YouTube, or at least they were. I watched them all again, and I loved them just as much. So sad that series didn't continue. I think we got about like 30 episodes, almost 27 or something. But man, oh man, is it good. Skorzeny is in there. He's like the evil werewolf, and he's got an eye patch, so you know he's evil. And he's like a big gray werewolf. And it's one of the greatest looking werewolves ever. The transformation scene for being mid-80s is absolutely amazing. I can't recommend Werewolf, the TV series, more than anything else. It's my number 1 recommendation. I just absolutely love it, and I would love representation. Give me Eric before he turns into the werewolf. Give me the werewolf version. Same thing with Skorzeny. I want to see that as well. I loved it how his hand would get the pentagram here, and it would just start bleeding, and he'd look at me like, oh no, not now. Not now. I can't turn into the werewolf now. but he would, and it would bleed all over. And then you'd have episodes where there'd be like secret werewolves he didn't know about. I mean, it was just the greatest show ever. If you haven't seen it, I'm going to keep saying it. You got to check this out. And I want NECA to make a werewolf figure. I'd be fine to just make the werewolf from the series. Just make the werewolf. Maybe we get Scream Greats to do it. Maybe Trick or Treat Studios might jump in on that. I don't know. I've heard the legalities of some of the music and some of the trademarks or something make it hard to do. I'm not sure all the legalities on that, but I would love to have representation of that werewolf in my collection somewhere. Just a fun series. Can't recommend it enough. Werewolf by far coming in at number 1 in my top 5 most wanted action figure lines that we just haven't had. Give me the werewolf. Give me everything here. But once again, I'm going to ask you, what are you hoping to see? What do you want? What's your list look like? Put it in the comments down below. And have you ever seen the Werewolf series? Let me know as well. Check out, of course, Patreon, YouTube channel memberships for early access to videos just like this one. SirPaul64 on the X, _Kyle_Peterson on Threads, Instagram, TikTok, and The Kyle Peterson Show at gmail.com, which is the name of my podcast, The Kyle Peterson Show, available every single Tuesday wherever podcasts are found, with videocast on YouTube. So for another edition of The Kyle Peterson Top 5, I'm Kyle. See you guys all real soon.
Well, are we gonna dance or are we gonna play?
47 miles of barbed wire. Use a cobra snake for a hit.